Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome into the Gramlich and McLean podcast presented by Ingles, the official supermarket of Gramlich and McLean. And we have a game tonight, the only game on the telly, Eric McLean. It's Clemson and Duke, the biggest game of the night because that's the only one, as I've said. But Mac, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see Mac is in another location. Where is Mac today?
I am at this game, KG. Let's freaking go. You just had an awesome weekend of games here, and to kind of pull back the curtain here, it is Sunday. FSU has not played yet. We will talk about that your tomorrow, not our tomorrow, on Tuesday. So check it out on Tuesday. We will have the full weekend analysis, recap, talk about all the games, so you can check that out Tuesday. So you got to wait today. We're talking strictly Clemson and Duke, massive game, a lot of opportunity, and super excited for this, because we have a really nice guest too, KG, who graced us with his presence.
Yes, indeed, we do. Riley Leonard is joining us, the Duke quarterback. And of course, Mac, this is just so you that you're at your hotel in Durham. You go down to the lobby, you're trying to go to the car to get your computer, and you run into Riley Leonard's parents and Graham Barton's parents. I mean, that's you, Mac, of course, and y'all chatted up.
It was amazing just to run into them, and great people, by the way. I truly understand why their sons are the way that they are. So that was awesome. So big shout out to Mama Barton and Mama Riley, and hanging out and talking with them, and of course Pops on both sides as well. So that was awesome, super cool, super fun. But this interview right here was really great. So big shout out to Kat for making this happen, and of course Riley for his time. Still bearded, by the way, in this interview. Not bearded anymore. So here, without further ado, the bearded Riley Leonard.
Did you know that Ingles sells more organics than any other store? Or that they run their own dairy? Or that they only serve USDA choice and prime meat? Did you know that they have more local craft beer than any place else? Or that they have Energy Smart stores? Or that they professionally slice and package imported cheese from Europe? Did you know about their giant international aisle, local farm partnerships, curbside pickup, wine department? Or that they donate 3,956 meals a day to local food banks? Well, now you do. It's all in the bag. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
Riley Leonard, man, back on the podcast. Great to see you, brother. Thank you for joining us today.
Appreciate you guys having me.
That's right. Well, Riley, I remember having you on last year before the world really knew who Riley Leonard was. And we were so impressed with you. And so then we weren't surprised when you blew up and had an incredible season. But one thing that I really appreciate about you was you were very humble. You were always, trying to give back. And you did that this year. You had a youth football camp back in your hometown, back in Alabama. Graham Barton was there, who we just had on the pod, by the way, back a couple weeks ago. Tell us about that, why that was important to you. And it's cool that NIL and the new rules allow you guys to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so that was, one of the best days of my life. Obviously, coming from a community like Fairhope, everybody has your back. It's a smaller community, so to be able to give back and have that camp there, I was able to have my high school coaches and my Little League coaches help out and coach these kids. My mom was there. She's a teacher. She had all of her students come. It was just one of those days that you'll never forget. And to be able to bring Graham Barton along with me, I mean, he's great with kids. You guys know how he is. One of the best people I've ever met in my life too. and then along with that, the proceeds were able to go to a local charity in Fairhope,
Awesome.
The Fairhope Rotary Youth Club, and then the other half were able to go to my grandfather's foundation in Africa. He's over there right now. He builds schools for 3 or 4 months every single year, and he's doing great stuff. My brother's over there with him now, so they're doing a lot of great stuff. I'll have to share with you guys some of the pictures.
Yeah, please do.
It's
We'll
really crazy.
Podcast here. What part of Africa? Where are they?
So it's in Zimbabwe. He's been going there for 20-something years, feeding over 20,000 kids a day, and it's really their only meal that they have access to every single day. So super proud of him. If
you haven't gone over there, I'd encourage you to do it, man. I went to Kenya for a medical mission trip a couple years ago, and it's transformational. It really is. Just to see, we think that we have problems, and I mean, it doesn't even sniff, the things that they're dealing with over there.
Yeah,
so
it's crazy. He sent me some pictures this morning of lions that were like 10 yards away, and so it's crazy, man.
Gosh. Well, I feel like I'm talking to a lion right now, man. I see some scruff coming in.
I see you, man.
I forgot a razor. I forgot to bring a razor to the hotel, so and the O-line wanted me to shave the head, but I couldn't do that for him. So
no, please don't.
I'm seeing what I can do.
I like the beard though. Okay, and you kind of just you peel back the curtain a little bit here as we're in. Was it Camp Wally Way? What was it called? Camp Wally?
Yeah.
What is it called right now?
Camp Wally Wade, I believe.
Yeah. So, and you guys, I mean, you guys literally leave and go somewhere. So, how has that been? I never experienced that. I got to go home, thank God. But you're in a hotel. Like, what is camp like right now?
Yeah, no. So we're just at a hotel right across the street, but so we just walk back and forth every single day. But it's real nice. They spoil us, man. They're making our beds every day for us. They treat us pretty good here at Duke.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm telling you,
Is it
it's
weird
nice.
though being like removed, like not going to your own bed? Like, is it? I guess what is the benefit for your perception of being able to maybe unplug and get away from the day to day?
Yeah, it's cool to be, kind of off campus a little bit and not have to, worry about school or anything right now. We just finished with summer classes, so it's just strictly football. So it's great to just be able to commute from, football to the hotel, back and forth all day, and really just dial in for the month of August.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think it's going to benefit you guys, I would say. So let's look ahead. We're going to release this, Riley, just so you know. We're going to release this the week before the season starts. So the week of the Duke Clemson game, which we are all very excited for. So let's talk about your team. And something that Mac told me he talked with you about at ACC Media Day, that the thing that you wanted to improve upon the most was your just leadership ability. You are the guy going into camp. Last year, you were technically in a quarterback battle. So how has that been for you? How do you think you've improved upon that skill?
Yeah, so last year, the focus was kind of on myself. I had to prove myself, had to gain my own type of confidence for my personal game. But this year, it's how can I bring the guys with me? Obviously, being a year, going through a year of a starting quarterback, I realized the importance of everybody else on the field. So, bringing these young guys up, these young receivers. We got some new great offensive lineman transfers that came in. Just getting to know these guys and bring them along with me has been, the biggest thing for me this camp.
I love that, man. And I have to think that just will translate to even more confidence on the field, right? And the leadership role of this is your team. You are the face, of Duke football now. And I know that comes with a heavy crown and all those different things. But, at the quarterback position, I always reference this when we ask you, why did you decide between basketball and football? And, you're just – there's only one sport that you're the guy every single play. And you wanted that. So I know you're excited for that and to continue to build on it. But how is your game? Like looking on the field, I know the leadership aspect. How has your game improved from year one to year two?
Yeah, I think I've just grown, and I've become a lot more mature with my decision making. I think I've realized that to win a football game, it's not going to take the big plays. It's situational football really. So on first and 10, it's not how can we score this play, it's how we can get 4 yards. On second and long, it's how can I get half. On second and short, can we take a shot? These situational type stuff is Coach Elko's biggest emphasis every day in the meeting room. He calls it FBI, football intelligence, and everybody on the team, knows that there isn't a single play that's ran for no reason. Every single call has a purpose, and for me to be able to understand exactly what the coaches are thinking every down has been kind of the next step for me.
Yeah,
I love that.
Real quick,
FBI,
Casey,
Mac.
the FBI, the intelligence is such a big piece, and it's hard for guys, right? Especially when high school, you're just killing dudes like big play after big play, and this is hard. It's hard to execute. It's hard to win. What was the biggest, I guess, help or aid in the mind shift of I just got to get half here? That's so important. What you just said on like a second and long or situationally third and long. How did you help, I guess, lock that in that we don't have to just go over the top every play. We don't have to get this big play.
Yeah, it's something that takes, a lot of time and a lot of understanding, especially for a quarterback coming back after, a pretty good year last year. You think to yourself, oh, man, I got to do so much more. I got to make this play, make that play. But Coach does a really good job of keeping me humble and keeping just me focused on what's really important. And that's Coach Johns too. Coach Johns talks about that with me every single day. We're constantly going over how I can make better decisions. And that's really all the game comes down to. It's not who has the strongest arm. It's not who's the fastest, strongest on the field. You look at the greatest quarterbacks of all time, they're constantly just making the right decisions.
That's true. And I feel like, Duke's a good school to really preach that FBI, that football intelligence. I think Mike Elko probably likes that.
Right. We got to play to our advantage. We're not going to be the fastest and strongest, but, we do have some smart guys on the team, so we definitely use that to our advantage.
We have some smarts, and I think everyone can see that. So I think one thing with your wide receivers here, Riley, when people talk about these wide receiver rooms in the league, people talk about Florida State's, they talk about Wake Forest's. People are expecting a lot from Clemson's. Clemson's has kind of been down. But I think people are sleeping on Duke's wide receiver unit with Jalen Calhoun, Jordan Moore, with Hagans. I know Eli is out at least for the foreseeable future. But what have you seen from these guys, and what excites you about your wide receivers?
Yeah, the thing that excites me the most is they like to be the underdogs. They don't want the attention. They love reading lists and not seeing their name on it. That's what keeps them going every day that they walk into the facility. And, that's what I liked about, myself last year. Obviously I am on these lists now, so it's a little bit of a different mentality. But at the same time, it all comes down to just playing ball with your boys. The receivers have done a great job. We got, like I said, a lot of young guys that are stepping up, Mekhi Wall, Apollos Cook. These guys are going to have to make some plays for us this year. And, we just have the underdog mentality just like last year.
Yeah. Riley, what is the behind the scenes look like with your wide receivers? I think it's unique to hear, kind of every quarterback's story, but is it late night throwing sessions? Is it film sessions? Is it hanging out and just building camaraderie? What did you find, I guess, worked the best as you're going into year 2 as the guy with your teammates?
Yeah, obviously we're always hanging out outside of football, whether it's, going out on the golf course, messing around, going fishing. Obviously, we do all that stuff. But I think what's most important for us and what makes us special is watching film, and not only watching film but asking questions. I think it takes a lot of humility for somebody and players of our caliber to ask each other, hey, how can I get better? Yeah. And nobody ever points the finger. It's always, hey, how can I help you out? That's the biggest thing. Whenever Calhoun runs a route, I miss him. He goes one way, I go the other. It's not don't do this, don't do that. It's how can we fix this?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the vibe across the entire receiver room. Everybody just wants to compliment each other's game.
Yeah, excited to see it, man. I know everybody, it's all about passing, but I think what do we hear? You score to pass, but you win when you run. And you guys, man, I have high expectations for that offensive line. I ranked them number 2 in the conference, and a lot of people raise their eyebrows, but I kind of know what I see there, and especially this running back core. I mean, having 3 guys over 400 yards, the things that they're able to do from a running back room perspective, how have they taken a step forward? Because, I mean, there's 2 running backs that are over 100 rushing attempts. The third was 79. I mean, he's right there. You guys are going to ground the football. How have those guys in that room gotten better?
Yeah, and not to mention Peyton Jones. He's a young, true freshman who's going to make a lot of plays this year.
Look
I think
out.
the biggest, yeah. He's legit. I think the biggest thing about them is once you see, for example, Jaquez Moore, if he broke a 60-yard touchdown, the first guys running down the sideline would be Jalen Coleman and Jordan Waters. That's the type of group that they have, and that's a huge credit to Coach Trooper Taylor. He's been around for a while, but he just really supports everybody, and they support each other. So no matter who's getting more reps, everybody just loves each other, and that just goes down to the unselfishness that we have around this program.
Riley, I asked Mac this question when we were doing our Duke preview, because last year you were Duke's leading rusher, and we know what you can do with your legs, all right? It's been proven. But the number one thing is Duke needs you on the field. They need you to stay healthy. So how has that been from a coaching perspective? What have the coaches wanted from you? Do they want you to, hey, go juke that guy out of his shoes, go get the first down, or do they want you to kind of be able to throw the ball away when you need to? What's been the vibe there?
Yeah, it's tricky. It's very tricky. Obviously, my job's to win football games. So if I need to run the ball and get hit, I'm gonna get hit. And I don't know if that's exactly what they want to hear, but they want to win football games too. So it's a weird dilemma. Obviously, the coaches want me to protect myself more, and I will do a better job at that. But if the defense gives me, the running capabilities, that's what I'm gonna take. I'm not gonna think about my future too much. I know that's maybe different than a lot of people say, but I just want to win football games however it may be.
Yeah. And I think that spreads to your team. I mean, I think guys see that and feel that, and it only makes them go harder, right? And again, I know they might be holding their breath, but I think it does make them play better. Riley, when you and I were talking a couple of months ago, people started playing you differently towards the end of the year because of that. How does that change your decision-making process based on what you see? Do you have to, scramble sideways, instead of vertically and try to extend a play. What's the biggest difference when maybe they don't give you those running lanes that you want?
Yeah, I have no problem when they come out with the spies. Obviously I didn't have too many rushing yards towards the end of the season. You look at Pitt and you look at Wake, but during those games we had our receivers step up big time. So if they want to spy me, that just gives us better advantages on the outside. I know Jordan Moore against Pitt had 200 yards, and then we threw for around 300 against Wake. So I have no problem ending the year with 0 rushing yards and letting these guys go to work for me.
Threw around 300. It was 391 to be exact. But who's counting? Who's counting?
He's humble, Matt. He's humble.
Right.
Whatever it takes. Okay, let's talk about your defense here, Riley, because I know that the defense is going to be a big part of Duke this year. We know Mike Elko, big defensive guy. Dwayne Carter's back, a.k.a. Mr. President, so we know you're excited to have him back. Give us some other names that have just kind of been impressing you. You've been going against these guys every day in fall camp.
Yeah, so our D-line is stacked. We have a lot of returners there that could have gone to the NFL. On the secondary, we have Al Blades and Miles Jones, 2 transfers that are going to come in big time for us. Josh Pickett and Chandler were huge for us last year, and they'll step up again. And then in the secondary, we have a transfer of Jeremiah Lewis, who is actually a former Blue Devil, went to Northwestern and came back. So he's great to have around the program again. And then Jalen Stinson, another safety. We're a very experienced group, and we're gonna have to use that to our advantage, like I keep saying.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that those guys, can they take away the ball at the same rate or even at a better rate, and get you guys more opportunity. I think that the biggest jump that you see in defenses is that year 1 to year 2 with new programs, with new schemes, things of that nature, and so there's a lot of opportunity here. Let's transition to game week, man, and looking at opening on Monday night against the Clemson Tigers. AP poll came out a little bit ago. They're number 9 in the country. They're coming to town.
By the way, Duke should have been ranked. I'm just going to say that. Duke should have been ranked, but whatever.
I didn't even know we weren't. But
There you go. You'll have your opportunity. But what's the mindset in this game, man, where the world is going to be watching as a team like Clemson comes to the house Monday night?
Yeah, one, it's an opportunity. It's less of a challenge, more of an opportunity. That's kind of been our mindset. And, everybody comes up and says, hey, what's it like to be able to play a team like Clemson and this and that? Yeah, at the end of the day, they're just another team. They're coming to Durham, so, we think that, we have the home field advantage. We're going to get out there and play them like we would anybody else. Mm-hmm. I think we've been in these big bright light situations before, so we know how to handle this. And like I said, it's just an opportunity. We got nothing to lose, so we're going to go out there and, play our heart out.
I know you're in the middle of camp right now. We're recording this a little earlier than game week. How does that work when you're, week 1, you're always preparing for week 1, whether you were playing an FCS team or Clemson. Have you guys started looking at Clemson at all, or has it really been still a focus on you? And just for the listener, it's August 16th right now. So has it really just been the focus on you guys, or have you started looking at the Tigers at all?
Yeah, in the quarterback room, we've taken a sneak peek at the Tigers, but right now we're really just focusing on building our foundation, as a program. These first couple weeks of camp, you really got to figure out what you're about. Obviously, we're on a 6-day stretch right now, and we have a scrimmage today, so we're going to figure out what type of mentality we have, how much energy, how can we push through, how can we finish this 6-day stretch and really see, who we can trust, at the end of the day.
I love that, man. I love that. Yeah. How about just, again, what do you want people to come away with thinking about Duke after that game? It is a big game for both schools. When you start in conference play, it's a great opportunity. But I think the uniqueness of it is you play on Monday night. There's nothing else going on. Everybody is going to be watching that game. What do you hope the nation comes away with after seeing you play Monday night?
Yeah, I think people are just going to realize that we're not a one-year fluke team. We're here to stay. Obviously, we had a lighter schedule, last year. But this year, we're coming. We're coming to win the ACC championship, and we have the goal to do that. There's nobody that's going to stop us or let us think that we can't. Obviously, with the tougher schedule, we're just going to have to prove ourselves and prove to the country that you don't have to be these 4- and 5-star guys. If you work, you work harder than everybody in the off season. You go out and execute the game plan. You can beat anybody.
And you have that FBI.
Man. That's right. That FBI is your secret weapon. Man, Riley, always appreciate you, brother. This was so much fun. Good luck, man. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks thanks again to Riley Leonard for joining us way back during camp. That's when he was talking with us there. As you said, Mac, he had his beard back then. I imagine he could go to Ingles to get whatever he needs to shave that thing off to get ready for the season. And I know for tonight, a lot of Clemson fans listening that have some Ingles in their local area, that's where you got to go. Get ready for the game tonight. You're going to want a full spread, burgers, wings, whatever it is. They've got you covered over at Ingles. Mac, this game is going to be a good one. It's time to discuss. Clemson is a 13-point favorite over the Duke Blue Devils tonight on ESPN at 8 o'clock. Now, I'm going to go ahead and throw out my crazy stat, Mac. You know I love these crazy stats. Let me just throw it out right away. Let's not wait. Duke has been playing football since the year of our Lord, 1888.
Great
yes,
year.
We're
Great
going
year.
back.
I remember that year well.
Okay, yes, 1888. And since 1888, Duke has won 9 or more games 7 times, which is insane. 4 of them belong to Wallace Wade, who the stadium is named after. 2 belong to David Cutcliffe, and 1 belongs to current head coach Mike Elko. In his very first season, led Duke to just its 7th 9-win season since 1888. That is insane. So it just puts into perspective what Mike Elko has done at Duke right away, and it's still not getting enough credit. And then here's my other crazy stat, and then we'll just dive in. Duke was 10-3 against the spread last year. Ooh, all right, Mac.
Love that.
So let's
That's big time. That's a great
interesting,
number
right?
there. Yeah, it is.
Let's start with the Duke Blue Devils. If I know there's a lot of Duke fans listening, if there's Clemson fans listening who say it's Duke, what do you have to say to that?
Hold on. It's not just Duke. This is a team that, you talk about those 9, wins there, but I think the losses are equally as important and relevant because they were by a combined like 14, 16 points. I mean, these guys are 2 touchdowns away from being undefeated. If you remember the UNC game, they're a phantom high-low game from winning that 1-point loss to Pitt. Of course, what happened with Georgia Tech, my goodness. I mean, they just forgot how to play football for a half, then come soaring back and then still come up a little bit short there. So for me, KG, I mean, this is a very dangerous team. And of course, it's led by, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Riley Leonard is ready to go. I mean, this dude, I think all the reasons that we love to watch him is because he is a crazy competitor. And it's so weird. It really is kind of like the Mamba mentality, Kobe Bryant, the great Kobe Bryant. When he's on the field, he's a different person. Like, he wants to destroy you. Off the field, great, awesome, very
nicest
humble,
guy ever.
Nicest guy. Would probably not know that he was as good of a football player or a football player, just if you met him out of that. But in between those lines, he's trying to destroy you. And I think that's such a difference maker with any team, but specifically with this Duke team, because they feel like with him, line it up, whoever you want. Let's go play. And I cannot wait to see it in person later tonight. It's going to be tremendous. And I think that is a huge piece of it. Not to say that he has to be Superman, because I don't think that's the case. I think they have a lot of other really talented players, and we'll dive into some of those guys. But one kind of stat, my crazy stat for you, when he rushes, come on, lean in here. When he rushes for over 60 yards, Clemson, don't get excited, big dog, calm down. Duke is 7-1. I mean, those guys, they're balling. When he's moving, they're feeling really good. So, that will be a huge key for Clemson, but also a huge key for Duke to make sure that does or does not happen.
That is a great stat, Mac, because Riley Leonard was Duke's leading rusher last year.
Yeah.
And to me, here are the 2 big concerns I think you have if you're Clemson. A, containing Riley Leonard's legs. By the way, I think it's Duke's offense that concerns you. I'm not sure it's Duke's defense. I think Clemson is going to be able to score. But of course, the big question is, what does this new offense look like? And we'll get to that. But defensively, containing Riley Leonard's legs, I think that's number 1. And then number 2, and this may be the biggest one, Clemson's secondary, which has had issues last year. And Dabo said on our interview, right? He said some of those guys got exposed last year.
Yep.
Clemson secondary versus these Duke wide receivers, a guy like Jalen Calhoun, Jordan Moore. These are some veteran guys. So to me, that's the matchup that I'm really interested in.
Yeah, it really is. And again, if Clemson folks or other folks, anybody is listening to this, you're like, come on, is that cat really that good? Is Riley really that good? Well, here's the deal. Mel Kiper just dropped his big board. Riley Leonard was the 3rd quarterback overall listed.
Wait, behind Caleb, Drake, Riley Leonard? Wow.
Riley Leonard. for next year, not
Wow.
2 years, for this coming draft. So there's a lot of expectation. There's a lot of high hope. This dude is the real deal. Now, here's the deal, too, though. I think if he comes back, he's number one. Like, that's a big difference, right? Depending on where you get drafted, what happens, things of that
Clemson
nature.
fans say, what about Cade?
Yeah, right. No, he's not up there.
No,
he's
in 2 years. I'm saying
right,
in 2 years.
How fascinating will that be? And maybe you see that matchup in a championship game. I'd love to see it. So anyway, you mentioned those guys. We could talk about draft stuff forever and projections and things of that nature. But when I look at Calhoun, freaky guy. I mean, he's always been twitched up. I remember the first time I went to Duke when we started this thing. I believe that was his freshman year. And I was like, who the heck is that? Like, this guy looks different than everybody else you have. And at the time, that was true. Super explosive, very muscular, very twitchy. I think we see his final form here from a leadership standpoint, from a go-to guy. Like, I want the ball when stuff's happening. Jordan Moore obviously has now transitioned 1,000% to wide receiver to see how much better he can get. Because last year it was just, hey, I'm a better athlete. I'm going to figure this out. Let's go. Now it's, okay, I know how to play the position. I know how to do this. I know why we're doing different things. So excited to see that. And then, of course, with Eli Pancol, which I hate that he's out, and hopefully he returns. But, things that I've kind of heard, through the grapevine, I don't know if he'll be able to or not. But when you look at Samir Hagans, I think he's ready to go to step up in that spot. And I'm sure there's other guys that will do the same. So the passing attack is certainly going to be very fluid and excited to go against this Clemson defense. That was a weak point of their team last year. There's no beating around the bush for that.
Yeah. Before we get to this Clemson offense and discuss what we think we'll see from this new Clemson offense, what about Duke's offensive line? I know you had them ranked in your top 5 ACC offensive lines. Going up against this D-line for Clemson that Dabo Swinney, when he was on with us, was very excited about. Xavier Thomas is back for his 17th season. You got Ruka Row, Tyler Davis, young Peter Woods.
Yeah.
Can this Duke O-line keep these guys away from Riley?
Well, I know who can is Graham Barton. I think he's going to be just fine. But what an opportunity for him to go against all this NFL talent. I mean, when you look at 2 of those guys specifically who you just mentioned, and Tyler Davis and Rook, I mean, those guys got second-round draft grades. Like, those should be NFL players right now. They're still in college. So a great opportunity there. I think Xavier Thomas has an opportunity to explode and to be a draft pick. Justin Maskell is an exceptional player. So going against those guys, you have a shot here, and vice versa. Those guys get to go against him. Those guys get to put on great tape and battle against him. So, the thing to remember about Duke, they gave up a league minimum 16 sacks last season. You can say everything you want about Riley and his athleticism and all that. I would argue Jordan Travis is a little more athletic, right? Like, let's be real here. The offensive line was really good. Those guys are spectacular. They're playing at a super high level. I think Jacob Monk is another guy who I've heard a bunch of different things. I don't know if he's playing guard or center, but he's a great offensive lineman. And here's the deal. I think he's a better guard. So if they found somebody to step up at center, now you're feeling even better about this offensive line and the things that they can do, moving forward here. So a great opportunity for them being Duke and what they are going to go against, but also a great opportunity for Clemson's defensive line to go this really good on good all game long.
Mac, I really think the differentiator in this game, the reason why you might take Clemson minus 13, and we'll get to this spread a little later, is this Clemson offense, this new look Clemson offense with Garrett Riley, Kay Klubnik, Will Shipley, and these wide receivers who, according to Dabo Swinney, are healthy, and he's very excited to see. What do you think this offense, in its debut, it's just week 1, right, but what do you think this offense will look like, Mac? I'm so interested in this.
Dramatically different, dramatically better. I think it's already kind of instantly upgraded by that with Cade Klubnik going in as quarterback, and people say the Orange Bowl, I mean, let's be honest, it looked way better than the Orange Bowl could have been bad if you had a standstill statue back there, a quarterback that couldn't get out of the pocket. I mean, because Cade got hit a lot too, and he was running for his life. But I think just that and Cade's progression, before I even jump into the coordinator and Coach Riley and what I think schematically it's going to look like, everything that I've heard from him, everything that I saw those couple of days that we were there, like his ownership of this team, his will to win, like people have forgotten, I think, honestly, KG, that he was the number 1 quarterback coming out of high school. Yeah. This isn't some dude that's a project. Like, he is a dude. He's a guy, and he's ready to go. His dual threat ability is very impressive. His deep ball, his accuracy, But again, it's that leadership piece that I think is going to be at another level this year. And just something that Clemson, quite frankly, has not had, from the quarterback position, a vocal leader, a guy that's going to push you, a guy that's going to tell you that we did something wrong, on a constant basis and try to fix it. So right there alone, KG, I think this team is in a much better place from the coordinator spot, and bringing in a guy in Riley who was in a national championship, got those guys who we just saw TCU, by the way, get smacked by Colorado. Now, I know they lost a lot of players.
I wouldn't say smacked.
They were 20-point dogs.
But they lost by 3. They didn't get smacked.
That's a 23-point swing. That's getting smacked.
The defense let them down. I'll put it that way. Continue.
Two games in a row. My gosh, don't play defense there. It's not good. But when you look at that, I mean, that team was drastically different. And I think that, Riley's concepts with the pace of play, with what he's running and the route tree and personnel. And the biggest thing that we've heard from everybody you talk to, whether it's a player or a coach, is the confidence. Like the confidence is juiced, and why he, calls plays. I was talking to Will Shipley in camp and just said, what's the biggest difference? And he said, I know anytime that he calls my number or calls a pass play that I'm involved in, he expects me to score. He expects me to have a massive play. And for a player to feel that from a coordinator from the sideline, like that is massive and gets you excited, gets you going. And so I think that that's going to be a really big deal too. So seeing that, Shipley, I think, is going to be fully unlocked. Our guy Jacob Hester said that a couple of months ago. And everything that again, I see from this young man is it's going to be impressive. Like hardest worker on the team has been that. I mean, and what's interesting is not that he has to defer some of the leadership, but he doesn't have to carry as much. Like he's got a buddy, he's got someone else that can help him with that. And how much does that now allow him to just be a dog and just go play? Like I don't have to rally the whole team. Right. I've got guys that will help me do that, and especially on the offensive side of the ball. So I'm fascinated to see that. Can he be more involved in the passing game? I think would be elite. How much do we see him and Maffa on the field at the same time? I think that could be very excited and interesting to see, because it's just a matchup problem now that you have to worry about. And so, I think Ship is going to take a big step forward in his game, which is crazy because he's already been elite. I mean, he was first team All ACC at 3 positions. How much better can you be there? Offensive line, I think, is going to be very much improved. Those guys are playing now the position. You looked last year, they had 3 different guys, 4 counting a true freshman right tackle, that hadn't played that position in a live game, and you're doing it at the highest level. Now those guys have that together. They figured it out. They look good, big, healthy, and strong. And then, as you mentioned it, KG, those wide receivers.
That's the question.
That's right.
That's the question. And Mac, I really think, and one of my favorite quotes of the offseason is when Dabo Swinney was talking about why he hired Garrett Riley. And he said that when he called Garrett Riley, he was talking to him. Garrett Riley didn't want to call his offense the air raid. He wanted to call it the dirt raid because he wants to run the ball. And I thought, first of all, it's just an excellent Dabo quote. But I do think, first and foremost, Clemson's going to try to run the ball in this game and establish the run. First of all, your 2 most proven skill players, I would argue, are Will Shipley and Phil Maffa. So you want to use those guys. You want to ease Klubnik into this a little bit more. And, you want to be able to control time of possession. But I think you're going to see a lot of trying to run it and then take a shot. And that's what we haven't seen from this offense, is trying to take a shot to one of those guys like a Bo Collins or an Adam Randall. But, Mac, am I off on that? I still think the run game is going to be first and foremost for this Clemson team in this Duke game. Am I wrong?
How did you stop?
Oh, no. Did I freeze completely?
Yeah.
Okay. You were laughing. I was like, what?
I was laughing because it was frozen so long. I was like, what is she going to
So you don't know what I said?
No.
Okay.
I heard the skill players, and then it just totally froze.
I finished with, I think Clemson's going to try to, let me mark this so I know. I think Clemson's going to try to first and foremost run the ball in this game. And then go from there.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Yeah, KG, I mean, I totally agree with everything that you're saying there. And again, to do that, what does that do? That limits their offensive ability if you're running the ball and eating up that clock. But also, like you said, it takes some pressure off of Cade Klubnik. Right. He doesn't have to just force the ball downfield, but it also brings those safeties up a little bit, gets everybody's eyes kind of creeping forward for the run, and then the big play over the top. So speaking of those wide receivers, I think that Bo Collins is the X factor. I think that he is the guy that, can maybe have the highest ceiling the fastest, just he's the oldest, things of that nature, where total skill set, being a bigger guy, the possession wide receiver, but also a guy that can get by you and be a burner as well there. So if he can stay healthy, big expectation for him. Adam Randall, Antonio Williams, Cole Turner, and then I'll throw Jake Brenningstool in there as well. I think if those 5 are healthy and able all year long and ready to go, Clemson's going to be scoring a lot of points. Clemson's going to push the ball downfield, have the success that we are used to seeing from the Clemson Tigers, and get this thing back going at a high pace that Clemson fans are excited and expect to see.
All right, before we make a pick here, Mac, I think it's pretty clear from our analysis that we both think both these offenses are going to be very good.
Mm-hmm.
I would say we're giving Clemson's defense the edge over Duke's defense for sure. When you look at all the pros on Clemson's defensive unit there, so is the differentiator in this game Duke's defense? Is that kind of the unit that you think is, I would say, ranked 4th out of 4 if you're ranking those units?
I think that's fair. I think if there's probably a little bias, but also what Clemson has, in saying that Clemson's offense is equal or better, than Duke's offense. I think when you look at just proven, I think it would be kind of silly to say that Clemson has more proven numbers.
It would be Duke, yeah, if you look at proven commodities.
I think that, but I do think Clemson has the chance to be the better offense. But yeah, when I look at this Clemson defense, I think they have the shot to be one of the best in the country. I really do. When you look at the linebacker, position there, full of monsters. When you look at Barrett Carter, Wade Woodaz, who I think can be the X factor, and then the Axeman, the All-American there, and Jeremiah Trotter. They've got a real shot, to be an elite group that's remembered for a very long time. The defensive line is going to be just gross. They're so big, so strong. You've got 2 guys that were second-round grade that I think can get up to the first round. But then you've got a guy in Peter Woods that might be the best defensive player they have, which is crazy because he's a baby. He's a true freshman. He's never played in a game before.
Crazy.
But his technician, his power, his abilities, smart. He's just he's smart. Like I spoke about this before, but Brian Brzee told us that he learned how to play football as he went on. Peter Woods has that. Like, he's good now. There's not a learning curve, and he has all the tools and the power and the speed. So excited to see that. And then, like you said, that's secondary. They're going to be tested early and often, not only with, in pass coverage, but also with Riley getting out in space. Like, if you're in man, you can't just, follow your guy 100 yards downfield and then Riley's running and right behind you there's a touchdown. Like, you have to be really cognizant in this game. You have to tackle. Riley's a big guy. If he's out in space, you've got to get going and be ready there. So, excited to see how do those guys step up. This chess match between coordinators on both sides of the ball, and really the mental match of Riley versus Barrett and Jeremiah. Like, what is that going to look like? Is there changes, audibles? How are they going to try? Because I do think Clemson is going to be multiple. I think that we're going to see some exotic stuff there, whether that's alignment, personnel, moving around, things of that nature, games up front. I do think that we see some in year 2 of Wes Goodwin. I think we see some more exotic looks from those guys.
Let's make a pick. Let's make a pick on this football game. Clemson is a 13-point favorite.
Yeah.
This game is at Duke. It's at Wallace Wade Indoor Outdoor Stadium, whatever you want to call it. It's not at Clemson. I think that's a huge factor here. Monday night, all eyes on you. That kind of, this moment, if you will, that factor goes towards Clemson. They're used to these kind of moments. They're used to this big game.
Right.
But the fact that it's not in Death Valley, I think, is a big deal. That being said, we've talked up Duke so much in this podcast because Riley Leonard is that dude. And this team, they won 9 games last year, as we've said.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal. I think Clemson covers.
Ooh.
Even though this is on the road.
Dude, the line has moved. Right now, what did you say it was?
What are we
now?
at? It was Clemson minus 13 last I looked.
Before, a week ago, it was 16. So this line is gotten shorter.
Here on Sunday.
I guess, what does that mean? What does that mean? Fill us in, degenerate gambler.
Well, that means people are leaning towards Duke being able to cover.
Exactly.
Which, 13 is not a big number. Less than 2 touchdowns there. Yeah. But that's also you set yourself up for a nice little backdoor cover for sure. If Clemson scores late, if they're controlling the clock and go score.
Come on, look at you.
Yeah. If you check our picks, by the way, I went 5-2 to start the year. Mac went 6-1.
Ooh.
Check out this man. Make sure you're following our picks.
Should have been undefeated. I was too dumb, too early.
With the UConn game. I know.
I got smarter this week. So I'm killing it on SiriusXM. I'm killing these guys.
Yeah. Max killing Vegas, destroying them. Point is, though, Mac, as good as I think this Duke team is, Clemson finds a way to cover this number. But I think it's close. I think Clemson covers it towards the end of the game in the fourth quarter.
Sure. I do too. I think Clemson is I think they are back. I really do. I think they're back to being a dominant team. I think they're back to having that offense. But I am super excited to see this battle at a lot of different positions, like all across the board. It's kind of one of those games. It's a lot similar. Again, we don't know what happens in Florida State FSU yet. LSU, excuse me. I know that everyone else
coming
does,
to you from the past.
But kind of, yeah, right. Like that game, this game has a ton of great matchups where you just want it to be high-level football, not a lot of mistakes, not a lot of penalties. I want the refs to just stay out of it. I hope that it's a good, clean game.
Get out of here,
by
refs.
both sides. Yeah, come on. I'm interested to see who the officials are anyway. So with that, KG, I do think Clemson covers, but I have a couple of, kind of individual things I want to run by you to see what you think here.
Okay.
More passing yards, Riley or Cade?
I'm going to say Cade just because I think he connects on one or two deep balls, which is what this offense has been missing. Yeah. But I think Riley's arm is used more. If you get what I'm saying, I think they use Riley more as a passer.
Is that because they can't run? Is that what you're saying?
A little bit, but also I think Clemson's going to try to pound the rock. They're going to try to run the ball.
Okay, interesting. I think I'm with you there. Okay. So we're a couple of homers here. That's great. How about sacks? Who gets sacked more?
Oh man. I think Riley gets.
Team in the league. Really?
I think Riley gets sacked more. This D line, I am very interested. I think most people know I'm not a homer. I mean, I picked the Gamecocks the other night, and I did not want to, and obviously that didn't work out.
Big old L, by the way.
And I was happy to be wrong, to be honest. But I think this Clemson D line shows itself. And Riley's mobile. I mean, Riley's going to be able to get out of there. But honestly, I think both these quarterbacks, because of their mobility, you're not going to see too many sacks. But I think Clemson gets it done in terms of more sacks overall by the defense.
I'll say there might be a lot of pressures, but it'll be interesting to see how does he get out of there.
Riley's got to make good decisions.
Yeah, how do they make good decisions? Throw the ball away, things like that under duress. I was going to say rushing yards, but it sounds like you're heavy Clemson there.
So I think so.
How about this? Because Clemson or Duke also, I think, was the best turnover margin. How about turnovers? Who has more turnovers?
It's a great point because Duke was so good in the turnover margin last year. So good. And that was a big differentiator for them to turn their season around.
Yeah.
To me, Duke wins this game if they win the turnover margin significantly.
Okay.
I think that's going to be
two.
That's going to be a difference maker. Two or more. Yeah. And they've got to take care of the ball. They can't turn it over. But in games like these, especially when you are a home dog, if you can get an early turnover and then the confidence flips, the momentum flips, you have, and I think there's going to be a lot of orange in the stadium, sure, but you're not on the road. You're not in a very tough environment.
Yeah.
Turnovers can be the difference maker in this game, Mac. And Clemson has had last year not very good in turnover margin. Clemson's had some issues with turnovers. That's something to keep an eye on.
It was a trick question for me. I think it's going to be a clean game. I think we see minimal, if any, turnovers. Maybe it's like a special teams thing. I think both these quarterbacks take care of the ball. Obviously, both running backs. I mean, Ship and Maffa and, of course, Waters and company there with those guys. They're just good. I think we see a really clean, very competitive, fun game. So can't wait, KG. I really can't
wait. I think to your point about that with QBs, neither of these QBs needs to try to do too much. I know that Riley is it for Duke, but he's got some great wide receivers, and they do have some good veteran running backs.
Oh, yeah.
So neither of these guys need to try to do too much. Don't try to, put the team on your back, put the game on your back, get the moment, be it too much for you in that moment. That's going to be interesting to see which one of them just kind of lets the game come to them.
Right. And I think, quite frankly, just knowing both those guys pretty well, I don't think they'll do that. I think that they will play within the game, kind of where they are in their careers. Again, kind of goes back to my thing. I think it's going to be a clean game. I can't wait.
Let me add this. There's more pressure on Cade than Riley.
Sure. Riley's already done it.
Can Riley play a little freer? There's some pressure on Klubnik in this situation.
And that's just the nature of the position.
Yeah,
and being
it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. So anyway, that's it, guys. Super excited. Cannot wait for this game. It's been such a great weekend in the ACC, and football is freaking back, baby. Monday Night Football, here we come. I can't wait. Again, appreciate it. you guys tuning in. Our good friends over at Ingles, Kat, for helping us out with Riley. Riley, thank you for your time and joining this interview. To Riley and Graham's mom, thank you for the support. Thank you for watching. Always, we appreciate you guys, and good luck to your sons as we get it going here. But that's it from us. We need you guys to go over to YouTube, subscribe, leave some comments. We really appreciate all the support there. And of course, the OGs over on Apple Podcasts, rate, review, subscribe as well. We would greatly appreciate that. But until next time, we'll see y'all.